Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever you are, wherever, whatever the time is you're doing this math, I guess is how I should word it. Today is Thursday, March 4th, and we are still looking at scale models. All right, scale models. So we have a map of, it's a partial map of an area of Denver. And I don't even know if this is really Denver, but it is what we are going to use. And we're going to use this scale today of 4. We just want a regular pen. 4.5 centimeters equals 1 mile. Okay, so we're going to take this ruler and we are going to measure things and convert. All right, so let's first start by just trying to calculate. Let's say we've got this medical center to this medical center. We want to know how far apart are those. So what we're going to do is we've got to measure. We're going to measure in centimeters. And so we would just go set it down like that. We're going to set up a proportion. We're going to say the scale is 4.5 centimeters is over 1 mile. That's equals to our actual measurement, which is, that's about 8.5 centimeters. So we're going to put 8.5 on the top because centimeters needs to line up with centimeters. We're going to use proportional relationships on all of these scale models, scale figures. Okay, so we've got to figure out how many miles that 8.5 centimeters represents. Now, yesterday was nice and easy because we could just multiply because it was 1 centimeter per something. Well, now it's not. Now I flipped it on us. I gave us 4.5 centimeters equals 1 miles. And you don't know. It's going to have a factor in common here from 4.5 to 8.5. And you don't know 4.5 times what is 8.5. Okay, you don't know that. So what we have to do is work backwards and divide. 8.5 divided by 4.5. It's going to be slightly less than 2. So let's punch that into the calculator. 8.5 divided by 4.5. 1.8 repeating. So we'll just say 1.9. So that's 1.9 miles. Okay, so from those 2 points, there's a distance of 1.9 miles. All right, so that's all we're doing today. Is we are using this scale to calculate the distance between various places. The next thing we looked at was, let's say that, we'll delete this. Okay, and so we would say, the one we did in class was this. I live right here. And I work right here. So what we have to do then is figure out how far away do I live from work. So initially, a bunch of people, they just took their ruler and they did, like this. They set it up like this. And you can't do that, okay, unless you're Superman. You can't get from home to work in a straight path because that's not how the streets work. There's a saying for that. It's as the crow flies. So you could calculate as the crow flies. A measurement would be just a straight distance from point to point. And so if we were to do this as the crow flies, that would be approximately 11.5. So we go 4.5 over 1 is equals to 11.5 centimeters. We need to figure out how many miles that would be. So we're going to go 11.5 divided by 4.5. And that gives me about 2.6 miles. Not repeating, it was 2.5 repeating miles. Okay, but we can't do that because, like I said, we're not Superman or crows. So what we need to do is calculate a route. And here's the route I took. And I don't know if this is necessarily the quickest route. Why aren't you moving here? Because I'm on the eraser, that's why. Okay, so I don't know if that's the quickest route, but this is the route I took. This street straight up to Colfax. Then I took Colfax all the way down to this diagonal street, which doesn't have a name on it. So we'll just say this diagonal street up to Downing, and then straight up Downing to work. All right. Now what I do is I measure each of these. And then add them all up and then calculate what the final would be. So we'll say from my house to that street is 2 centimeters. Then we go from the street to the diagonal street. That is about 7.6 centimeters. This diagonal street then is about 1.82. We'll just round it to 2. About 2 centimeters. And then this one is about 3.5 centimeters. So I'm going to just add all of these up. Oops. That gives me 5.5, 6, 13, about 15.1. So I'm going to use 4.5 equals 1 mile equals 15.1 over what? So 15.1 divided by 4.5 equals about 3.36 miles to work. And I can calculate different routes if I want, and see if I can find different routes and if any of them are shorter, or maybe you got to stop by Starbucks on the way, and which one would be the quickest ways by stopping by Starbucks. But you'd have to find Starbucks on the map and stuff. But that's another way you can use scale models. And this is what we used to have to do back in the old days before we all had cell phones and maps just popping up on our phones. All right, so here's what I want you to do. I want you then to take a ruler, and we are going to measure the width of the zoo. All right, so you can push pause and measure the width of the zoo. And then you are going to measure, actually that would have been the length of the zoo because the length is always the long side. And you're going to measure the width of the zoo. So you can push pause and look at that carefully, think about it, write it down. All right, now your job then is to calculate the length and the width, convert them to miles. So what's the length and width in miles of the zoo, and tell me what the area is of the zoo then. Okay, so that's what I want you to do, and you can just reply to this assignment in Google Classroom with your answer. All righty, everybody have a wonderful evening, and I will talk to you later.